So welcome everybody here on Sunday afternoon. What are we, the third week of February, almost into March as we go, and the fourth month of Israel at war. And welcome to our co-host Eitan, who's been doing these shows with us since we started back in October. And it's good to have all of you with us from all different parts of the country. So we just say welcome, and Eitan, you can give the welcome. We have one of our special guests with us, Hadar, already. And for those who didn't catch the latest news, just at the time we're about to finish, I got a message this morning that our friend Major Daniel J'ieikob is going to join us for 15 minutes at around 6 o'clock as well, so to give us a ground report of what is happening. But over to you, Eitan.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. If I'm not mistaken, it's nearly the 10th meeting, if not the 9th or the 10th meeting. I look forward to seeing you again as usual on Sunday. Thanks so much for coming. It became a little bit of a club, I would say, a club, a membership. And I'm not sure how to call the club, but definitely we should include with Israel in it, because it is absolutely a team of people or a group of people who cares for the Holy Land and cares for the state of Israel. Majority visited Israel with us, with Kingdom Builders. We have been in a couple of occasions in the south of Israel, in the Western Negev, to, in a way, enjoy achievements by the Lighthouse Brigade, by the Australian troops, capturing Beersheba in 1918, on the way to Jerusalem, if I'm not mistaken, on the eve of Christmas 1918, where they gave the keys to Beersheba to the British forces taking over the Turks at the time. And so there is a major link between Israel and Australia, definitely, and we can see it with the political slalom worldwide. Everyone can say something, but we should keep us apolitical, and on the other hand, really keeping us updated about the situation today, or I would say the cloud above the Middle East. It's not an easy situation. Everyone has his own mind. Countries sees always the atrocities on the 7th of October as a tangible point of time to realize why Israel is operating the way it's operating in both north, central, and southern Gaza. But on the other hand, there are people who are calling to stop the activities because of killing of innocent people and kids, etc., which is really a terrible situation. But we have to take into consideration that it is not about revenge. It's not about Israel is taking its own troops to Gaza to hit Gazans where they are, or to destroy the city of Gaza. We are talking about some people in Israel are saying that we are on the eve of a second independence. We mentioned that in past meetings, that we are talking about existence of the state of Israel, the Jewish state, but it's the state for all religions. And I think that here we have to be very careful with the way we put it to our peers, to our friends, that it's not about revenging, it's about trying to take terror away from a peaceful land that looks always for peace and always was refused peace. Always remember, always refused peace. Always there was a proposal to our neighboring Palestinian people. I just wanted to touch today, there is a school of thought that said that in recent years, especially in the years before the protective edge operation in 2014, there's a school of thought in Israel that says that we're not dealing with two-state solution potential agreement between the Palestinians and Israel. We are talking about seven-state solution. In a way, why seven-state solution? Because you have neighboring Egypt, you have neighboring Syria, you have neighboring Lebanon, Israel, and you have neighboring Jordan. And then you have Israel, but guess, we have two Palestinians, two Palestinian entities. Those are the seven, I would say, establishment to deal with if you want to sort out a peace. And when you deal with Palestinian two entities, you know that there are two different Palestinians, and you can read it all over. Is the Palestinians who are coming from the Sinai Peninsula, and there is the Palestinians who are coming partly from the West Bank and Jordan. Two different Palestinians. By the way, you don't have to be a researcher to know that they don't marry each other. The Palestinian in the West Bank marry Arab members of the Israeli community, from our Israeli Arab sector, people who has the right to vote for the state of Israel, democracy, or within. On the other hand, you have the Palestinians who, by the way, speak different accent or different, how do you call it, jargon or different elements in Arabic that is different. So all in all, you could see it in mid 2000, in 2007-8, before Hamas took over command on Gaza, the PLO was there. And then there was street fights like in El Salvador and Guatemala, fighting who will be the power in Gaza. So all in all, the issue is to try the number one priority for the state of Israel to be fulfilled is to bring the hostages back. And this is everything for us. And here, in a way, you hear it, you read about it. The number one priority for the state of Israel is to bring the hostages back. Everyone can say something. I would say that there is no question that Prime Minister Netanyahu is totally caring for the hostages. There's no question that he does the utmost to bring the hostages back. And if people will say to you, he puts it as a second priority, I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure about it. And because it's a clear-cut moral value, saving and bringing, and it's a major issue. And I'm doing the visit now of 2.5 scientists, owners of a company that Hadar is part of it. We have a lot of discussions. We are a little bit divided because, the Israeli community is a very debating community for the good. We want to hit each other because we want to come to an outcome that will comfort each other. And yes, there is a feeling that the Prime Minister don't put number one priority on rescuing the hostages. But there is no question that he wants to see the hostages back. We all want to see the hostages back because it will change the situation completely if we have these innocent people coming back home to their families. And we are talking also, putting emphasis also on dead or alive. It doesn't matter. We have to have all of them back home. And those who are dead, to bring them to a proper Jewish burial. It's important. And farewell them in a proper way. So just to finish my 15 minutes, John, before you say something, and then we give, of course, our guest, Major Hadar Shohat, to tell her story, because I felt, look, I have a live example of someone who served from day one, the Israeli army, and a lady. More, you know, it's something that is really unique. Yeah, we have all our officers. We have Daniel, who is an unbelievable young man who does amazing jobs for the Paratroopers unit. But to have a lady with me and live in Melbourne, coming all the way just a few days after she was given the go-ahead to leave her soldiers as a commander and come over here, was very moving for me. And that's why I suggested you to have her as your guest or keynote speaker today. So all in all, what I wanted to say that we are standing still in a sort of frozen situation, waiting for leadership to find a way to sort out the matter with the hostages. And I think that all of us are on pause, because at the end of the day, we can't say the day after or not the day after. For me, the day after is not the day after the war. For me, the day after is the day after the hostages are back home. And that's something that I wanted to really share with you, is that for me, the day after is 8th of October, 2023. That's the day after, because we all know that the Jewish state and the state for all religions is all religious is in on a crossroad, deciding our future and seeing a new phenomena in the Middle East, not to mention politically, definitely in Israel will be a political turnover, but for sure it's about the Middle East in general and the world itself after such a, and don't forget that the Secretary of State Blinken visited Israel, if I'm not mistaken, 5 times already since the beginning of the war. When the Secretary of State visits a land 5 times in a row in 4 months, no. It happens because for America, Israel is a pinnacle, is something that is the most important thing in the Middle East, and not to mention the only democracy in the Middle East. But when you see leaders from all over, from Germany, from UK, ministers for foreign affairs are all coming, and God bless also, at least we have a minister for foreign. I know that a major reporter or correspondent from Australia is visiting Israel today and going down to the south. Someone I'm sure you know, he comes under the radar, so I wouldn't mention his name, but someone that you will for sure see reporting from Israel. And most important is we have people who knows to pay tribute to balance and not to be left or right, but to pay tribute to balance, to moral values, is through public diplomacy visiting the state of Israel. It's not about labor or liberals. It's about objectiveness. It's about the picture that should be painted in the right way. And thank you, John. I think that you take the microphone now, you speak, and you speak your point of view. And later on, I will introduce Hadar, and she will take command, hopefully for 20 minutes, and then we can leave all of us asking Hadar questions very authentically. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Very interesting. You know, I was during the week, of course, we're all getting a lot of information from different app sites and websites and commentators. I was listening to a lady in the US called Caroline Glick during the week, and she got the reports on what are those people who go out and do the pre-polling. They go out and see what people's opinions are, and you know, from what she told us on that podcast was that, you know, 65% of the people were backing Prime Minister Netanyahu and the way he's handling things. There were some who were questioning whether, you know, the right priorities, etc. But how do we know? Because we don't see the day-to-day things that are going on behind the scenes. But what she did say was that this particular group that did the report of over, I think it was over 3,000 people, was that 85% of the Jewish people said that they could never see a Palestinian state, and 92% of the total of Jewish and Arabs and others could not see the potential for a separate Palestinian state after what has happened. So that there's a very strong support for each other. But you would realize, of course, that, you know, those that are affected by hostages missing, etc., their hearts would be do whatever it takes. If you've got to give 3,000 terrorists back, give 3,000 terrorists back, you know, to get one of our people back. And I can understand that sentiment. And yet, on the other hand, my brain goes, you give them another 3,000 terrorists back, they're going to come back to haunt you later on. So, yeah, it's one of those scenarios that, again, you just go, wow, you know, they need wisdom beyond our understanding, the leaders of the country at this particular point of time. And they need our support. And for those who may have been in Sydney last Sunday, there were reported over 12,000, 10 to 12,000 Christians and Jewish people who met and spoke and talked and had an event. One of those, the leaders of that event, a fellow called Mark Leach, Reverend Mark Leach, he will be our guest next Tuesday night on our regular monthly SCAFI, Southern Cross Alliance for Israel, together with Alex Rivkin, who I'm sure most people know about, great supporter. So Mark and his team are looking to do more events in Adelaide in March the 4th, I think is the date. And we are looking at assisting them in Melbourne and Perth at this particular time, and we've found some hosts to help out. So we'll be having meetings during this next week to see how we may be able to assist Christians and Jewish people coming together and saying, that's enough, not again. Interesting, during the week, there was also in the Melbourne City Council, I don't know if you saw that, Eitan, somebody put forward a suggestion that the Melbourne City Council put forward an agenda to say cease the firing, cease fire, etc., etc. And some 200 to 300 Palestinians amassed on the Parliament House and 3 Jewish people with flags. And guess what happened? They arrested one of the Jewish fellows and told the others not to come back in the city for 24 hours. I mean, like, just nutty stuff.
Yes.
You know, it's just, again,
it's all about balance. It's all about balance. And I must say that I want to, as much as I can, commend the Victoria Police, because I think that what Victoria Police sees as number one priority is safety for the Jewish people. And I must say that, you know, within every community, you have the uniqueness, and you have those who are sort of acting outside the box. and showing bravery and going to a demonstration of the Palestinian or Palestine supporters, and taking the opportunity to expose themselves, and that's what happened. But at the end of the day, I must commend Victoria Police, because every event they are in full presence for the Jewish community, and there is no question that it's one of those very sophisticated times. Just imagine, far away from home, you're talking about 16 to 17,000 kilometers away. People are still living the situation. I think that God bless Australia for being able to accommodate all, the melting pot of multicultural society here. It's something unique, and honestly to say, I think that this is in a way the synonymous between Australia and Israel, is that we also live in multicultural society, and I think that average Australian understand that. We need to fix things. We need to live in peace. How to do it? That's, again, it's a challenge. But I think that more and more people like us could be, as we say, peace ambassadors. How can we do that? We have to represent what every one of us, including former ambassador, who's your very good friend Yuval Rotem, is always saying. Bring more and more people to Israel, see this thriving society, see Startup Nation excelling. Like in my case here, we have Hadar with Dasha, with Daria and Yasmin, three young ladies in the 30s are owning a very successful startup in Israel and connecting with Australia. Why to open the space to success in APAC region? I always say that Australia is welcoming Israeli companies is most important thing. Always America is not enough because of centrality of your nation. Is in the Asia Pacific region is playing a major role and major value or added value for the state of Israel. And I think that if you don't mind, John, I will introduce.
Yes, go ahead and introduce Hadar.
Yes. So Hadar, as an officer in the Israeli army, I hope she doesn't still stand, but she's sitting still stand. She's waiting for me to tell that look, Hadar is 13 years combat officer in the air defense, artillery of the Israeli Air Force. She's currently commanding a Patriot missile battery in the reserves. And of course, she was called to duty on the day of October 7-8. She was already there. Beyond her military service, Hadar, as I mentioned before, is a co-founder of Kinoko Tech. It's a pioneering startup specializing in the innovative field of alternative proteins. Very unique, and the next generation or the future of our nutrition and food consuming. And I'm very happy to have Hadar, and thanking her as well for joining us today. So Hadar, here you are. You were speaking to great friends of the State of Israel, led by John Lockwood, who is a friend of mine now. I think we are closing together, if I'm not mistaken, more than 10 years.
More than 10, yeah.
More than 10. So thank you. And you have here some amazing people who joined us in different occasions to Israel, so they know Israel very well. So Hadar, the microphone is yours. No more. Open your silence. You are on silent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John and Eitan, and thank you all for hearing me. And it's wonderful to see you, all the support for Israel. I'm spending time with Eitan for the last week, and he's always telling about your support, and we really feel it. And I will just tell about myself. I hope it will be interesting or not, I don't know, but it's just my normal story of a young lady in Israel. So it's not so unique, but I don't know, Eitan just wants me to talk to you. So as Eitan say, and John, my name is Hadar. I grew up in a small village near Jerusalem called Givat Yarim, a very small town. And at the age of 18, like any average Israeli girl, I joined the army, and I volunteered to be a combat soldier in the air defense artillery. It's in the unit of the Air Force. I was assigned to a Patriot battery. That if you don't know what is a Patriot battery, Patriot missiles, it's missiles that the task or the mission is against airplanes and some of the cruise missiles, things like that. So I was assigned, as I said, to a Patriot battery. After a few months, I went to an officer course, and I finished it after something like a year. And then I was assigned as a operation in an operational battery and did the numbers of duties in different batteries and teaching in the school of the Air Force, and then came back to the field. And before I was supposed to discharge, I decided that I want to stay a little bit more in the army. I felt that I did enough, and there are things I want to do more. So I want to be a battery commander. So I went to the battery commander course. I completed it and assigned to be a commander of a Patriot battery in the southern region of Israel. After that, I was offered to continue at the army, and I stayed for a few more years. Actually, I stayed for another 10 years. So totally, I served in the regular service for 13 years. And after a few years, I decided that I want to do something else in my life, and I have other things to do. So I decided to discharge, and although I really like the service, and I felt very useful, and I really love the system and the job. And so when I discharged, I decided that I still want to do something significant role in the reserve. So I was signed again as a Patriot battery commander, as a reserved battery. And this was what I was doing for the last 7 years. During my civil life, I had like in the background another 60 soldiers, and they were waiting for me to give them the call whenever we needed. Every few months we had operations or exercise. And before this war, we were called to come when was the guardian of the walls. So that's what I did in the last 7 years. After I was discharged, I worked in a youth organization called Green Horizon, and that is all over Israel. I don't know if you know it, but maybe not. But the focus is on informal education through the field. And eventually, when I was in the university, I met my partners, as Eitan mentioned. Daria and Yasmin, and together we founded the Kinoko team, and we are developing alternative protein from mushrooms. So to these days, so on the October 7th, like any Israeli, I woke up to the missiles through my home. And, you know, when missiles to Jerusalem area is not happening so much, and it's really rare. And we know it's something else when it started. You know, I have a lot of experience in wars and operations, and in the second it's begun, we know this is something else. It's not regular. It's not another operation. And after few hours, the news began to arrive about what happened near the Gaza Strip, and immediately, of course, I drove to my base and began understand what the mission and what my battery needs to do. After a few hours of getting organized and getting all the things that I need, calling all my soldiers and officers, and we started our mission. We were in service for the last 4 months, in which we took part in a large number of interceptions against targets that try to penetrate the airspace of the state of Israel. We intercept targets trying to reach Eilat and other strategic places in the south of Israel. And I think that our main mission is in the air defense systems like Patriot and like Iron Dome that you probably heard about, is to enable the citizens of Israel to continue their lives as normal as we can do, and the normal routine as possible. And this we are doing by intercepting the missiles or other airplanes or whatever is coming to the Israeli airspace. And I just want to say that I had the privilege of doing this mission for the past 4 months together with my officers and soldiers. And it's important for me to say that perhaps it's the most amazing thing that I experienced during the war was the want and the will of the soldiers to come and fight for our country. There was no one who didn't came and stay with us until the end. People put their lives, also me, put their lives on hold for 4 months with the full belief that this is what we need to do. And this is what we need to do in this time. I think this is the greatness of people in Israel, and I hope that you know that the war, as Eitan say, will finish when all the hostages will come back home, and will bring back the security to the north and the south of Israel. And actually, that's what I want to tell you. And if you have any questions for what I did in the last 4 months or anything else, so feel free to ask.
Yeah, thank you, Hadar. Yep, certainly. I've put in the chat if people want to ask a question, they can push the reactions button and raise their hand. But it's wonderful to have you with us. Thank you very much indeed. Are you hearing okay?
Yep. Do we hear, all of us? I hear well. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Hadar, I was just going to ask you, I mean, after all the years, you're a major. Obviously, you've got a lot of other both females and males in your platoon. How do the males react to the major?
Well, in my unit, we start our training together, females and males, so it's not irregular, you know. From the base, the first day you have a female commander or male commander. It's just the normal thing for us, so no problem. No issues at all. For all my servers, I never felt like it's something else that I'm a woman. Nobody wasn't expect my my leadership or something like that is very natural for our unit. But I know it's not a usual thing in other units, but for us it's very usual.
Yeah, a bit different for us Aussies, and we're not used to. When I first was exposed to the IDF, and our later guest Daniel J'iecov actually took us up to his ex-office on the Golan Heights, where right on the north of the Golan Heights, and we had all the guys and girls there. It was quite just an amazing time with them. And for the series of times we've been back, we've always gone back to the Golan Heights to support the young people up there who are very isolated, particularly in the wintertime when it gets so cold. What was the weather like when, you've come out of the summer into the wintertime over there? What was that like for you?
Well, we started like in the end of the summer, and then it became winter. My battery was in because we have a radar, so it's in a very high point in the south of Israel. So it was cold, but we're used to it. It's not cold as I think the winter in Australia. I don't know. Maybe Eitan know, but it's okay.
Yes. I wanted to ask you, Hadar, if you can tell us all about your, I would say, as a commander in the army, processing the surprise that the IDF, I would say, unexpectedly met in the first few days, and how, in a way, there was a reorganizing. The spirit of IDF is now operating as it is traditionally, and maybe how you dealt as a commander with the surprise, with people reactions, with your soldiers. It's all about psychology. It's all about leadership. Can you share with us a little bit how you take it upon you when you have regulations, you have rules of the games, you have all the instructions that you receive from your superiors, but at the end of the day, you have to correspond to your soldiers' peaceful approach, and it was a major challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the major challenge for me, we had a difficulty here in Israel with all the fights and things that going on with, the left wing and the right wing and whatever, a lot of discussions about the future of Israel. And it was a really difficult year for us. But when the massacre appears in the 7th of October, and I think the first thing that I felt is shame, as a reserved officer from the Air Force. I didn't understand how it could happen to us. It was very shocking and surprising, not in a good way. And I think this was the thing that, stuck with us. And we knew that we have to go now to the army back and to bring the security back to Israel, because it can't happen anymore, and it was horrible. And I think all my officers and my soldiers felt the same, because we're really ashamed of what happened as a combat unit, how it could happen to us. So we are really engaged to the mission to do our job as the best as we can, because we want to, not that we can did anything else, but we want to do it better. And it was really hard in the first few days and months, I think, because Israel was in a grief. We were crying and grieving about all our dear lives that was murdered and killed in the Gaza Strip area. And I decided that we can't be in this grief, because my soldier and I, we had to have like a clear mind to do our mission. So we talked about it. It's not that, so we didn't not talk about it, but we talked about it, but we didn't watch the news because we need to be focused on our mission. And I will say truthfully that, I just got discharged a week and a half ago, and it was very hard to come back home and to understand the great loss, and to understand what my friends and family were going through when I was in the field. And I think now I'm in the grief station, and everybody else not, but that's the situation right now, and it's okay. It's probably good for everyone. It's hard, but that's it.
It's wonderful that you've got an opportunity to come down here and to just get some time away, etc. And who knows what's going to happen in the future, which we can talk about. But I notice Ruth Lawrence has her hand up. So Ruth, if you'd like to unmute and ask your question.
Sure. You mentioned, Hadar, that you at one stage were in the unit that was involved in being a guardian of the wall. Is that a guardian of the walls of Jerusalem? And if so, could you give us a bit of an overview as to what that involved?
I think the guardian of the wall was the last operation that we had. I think like
3 years ago, 4 years ago. Yes, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
It was the name. It was
fast.
the name. Yeah, it was the name. The name of the operation, Ruth, protecting Gaza civilians during the last attack. Yes.
Yeah, it's also started with missiles to Jerusalem, if I recall right. And it was a surprise to Israel, and Israel decided to do some small operation. So like in this war, we got called up and we got to our mission as fast as possible. And it was a short operation. It's like was I think a week and a half, something like that.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Hadar. There's a couple of comments in the chat group. One is that about you and your business partners. Are you currently in Melbourne all together, looking for opportunities? So we're going to give you a chance to do a bit of a brief marketing campaign about the opportunities for business.
Yeah, so me and my two partners, Yasmin and Daya, we are currently in Melbourne until Tuesday, so not so long, but we are here talking with some food company that we are talking with this company for the next, I think, 3.5 or 4 years, so via Zoom. So now we had an opportunity to come here and to talk face to face. We are working with them in their with their R&D team, and it was a great week. And also Eitan helped us to meet a lot of people that are in the field of what we are doing, and help us to connecting with great people here in Australia, hoping that will lead to a commercial agreement or some business opportunities. As Eitan said, we really understand the potential in this APAC region, and we're really hoping this trip will be a successful one. So we are here.
Wonderful.
I think that one thing to add to Hadar's point of view is that there is no question, and John knows it along the way. We met in a way at a table or at a major event for the Australia-Israel Chamber of Commerce, and just yesterday we met with Marcus Mendy to learn potentially how Australian companies, especially in the food industry, especially in renewable way of nutrition and eating and health, very important. We all visited the Agri faculty in Rehovot in Israel. We all know Professor Oded Shoseyov, who presented different companies of his here in Australia, and he is also a senior advisor to Kinoko, to the company that is led by Hadar, Yasmin, and Daria. But all in all, what I wanted to say is that maybe very related to our session here is, in order to come to Australia, the husbands of Daria and Yasmin had to come back from Gaza to let them go and continue their projects with us. So just imagine, they were waiting for them to come back from the reserves. They waiting for Hadar to come back from a reserve, and then they decided to come over here and maintain the discussions. Not to mention something I think very important is the difficulties at the moment for major companies in Israel who are based either in the south or in the north of Israel. Just imagine, we know companies who are working with Australia who invested, which invested millions of dollars in labs, development, in equipment, and everything, and the building are now deserted just because they can't say the upper Galilee from Tiberias north to Metula, to the border with Lebanon, is a war zone. So just imagine, one day we have our enemy here in Australia, and the government tells us move the entire population of Melbourne and go to the outback. It's same situation. We have to understand, and that's something very important for all of us to express, is the fact that you're talking about refugees who are in Rafah. We have nearly 250,000 Israelis who doesn't live at the moment in their own home. They live in hotels, they live in Airbnb, just because Israel decided to ask them to leave their places. And many companies, luckily, the team here is in a process with us and could work together with our Australian scientists and food technology experts to continue to develop. So a 1 week stay in Australia is a worthwhile exercise for all. And let's pray and hope that Australian companies will give home and space for Israeli companies in the future until the war is behind us.
Yes, we agree with that. And one of the things, of course, where focus is in the marketplace, that's what Kingdom Builders was built upon, and the ability for Israel to continue to be a leader in research and development is very important for their economy. So if people want to know more about how they can support or find out more about Hadar's company, you can just send us a brief email, and I'm quite sure Eitan will be very happy to assist you. Now, Dave, I see you've got a question, and followed by Delari and Zeb.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Hadar, for talking with us today. I've been to Israel a few times with the team, and we just love Israel, and our church is constantly praying for Israel. I just wondered if you are able to share a little bit more about the process of how you defend the country because it's so small, and we've heard the stories of how you do it. I'm wondering whether you have some new technologies. There's talk of like lasers and EMP weapons and that sort of stuff to defend, or you're still using Iron Dome, and there's new rockets that are stronger and bigger and longer and stuff. Perhaps just if you're able to tell us a little bit more of the story.
Well, I don't know how much I can tell about how we defend Israel because
we understand.
We'll
yeah,
keep it secret amongst ourselves, but don't share too much.
But as I mentioned, we have Iron Dome batteries, as you know, and we have the Patriot batteries. We also have the David Sling batteries. So we have a lot of different weapon systems. Also, there was a few new systems that was starting to operate in the war. As a startup nation. So it's startup nation also in weapons. So yeah, the war is a really good opportunity to see if something is working or not. Is a really good opportunity to learn about our weapons. So we had some few things that are going to start working or started working in the last few months, and will start working in the few months ahead of us. It's the Israel. As I mentioned, I work in the air defense artillery, so most of the time I'm looking at the skies, and Israel, it's a very small country and small boundaries, but unfortunately we have a lot of challenges to protect the borders, but we are managed to do I think my unit and other units in the air defense artillery are doing a very good job. After I think like 2 or 3 weeks, most of the regular life in Israel came back. People can go to work, go to schools, and basically live in Israel. So I think we are doing a very good job. The Iron Dome, also the Patriot and David Sling, and whatever else, also airplanes. Everything is there. The Air Force and the air defense artillery are working around the clock and doing a great job of contain the normal life in Israel.
Thank you.
Dave, I wanted to commend Hadar telling us around your question what she could, and it's absolutely important. I think that David Sling is something that you could really Google, because the David Sling project was made it's a new generation of anti-rocket missiles, and I think that this is really major product of the Israeli defense industries, Rafael and Elbit, and that's something that you could read on internet, and it's not a simple system that would give you a better idea about how to combat. Of course, we're also ready at the moment for the northern threat, so that's something that Israel is very importantly now preparing for a potential northern attack.
Yes, we just want to have confidence that you are well protected up there.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Hadar.
Absolutely.
Good. Dalarian Zeb got a question as we sort of come up to the 6 o'clock time slot. But
yes.
Over to you, Dalarian Zeb.
I'll try and be quick, but I just wanted to say thank you, Hadar, for everything that you do. I'm just in awe and totally amazed. I have no idea of everything that you must go through, but thank you. But what I really wanted to ask was to learn a little bit more about what your business is. If you're able to say something. I know John's up.
No, I can.
This is important. This is important.
Yeah. So our company called Kinokotech, me and my partner, as I said, met in the Hebrew University, and we met in the entrepreneur club. So it's really funny story, but we met. My partners, one of them, Daria, have a doctor in microbiology, and she studied for a lot of years the mycelium. It's the root-like structure of the mushrooms.
Yep.
And she thought that we can do something with the mycelium of fungi, something that we can eat. And together with Yasmin, that have also PhD in plant science, we developed the idea of growing mycelium on lagoons and grains and for eating. So that's what we are doing. We are growing special fungi on legumes and grains to create a new food with high protein, high fibers, low carbs. So it's really healthy. It's really tasty. Eitan hate it, so he can tell if it's good or not. But I think he really like it because he was taking a second bite. So that's what we are doing. We are now searching, as I said, a partner here in Australia, looking forward to make a business opportunity here.
Fantastic.
Changing culture of eating here.
Yeah,
Yes, Dolores, it's a company in Australia that is welcoming and hosting the three scientists, and both of John could tell you more very soon. We hopefully have Professor Oded Shoser, who's also a mentor for many companies, and John is so to say aware and practiced the phenomena in Israel of what we call tech transfer. Is, in the old times, the professor had a paper, put it on his shelf. Today, the paper, especially in the science, is becoming, in a way, a potential future business, and using amazing know-how and expertise to develop things that can, contribute to humankind. And you could see it in every level in Israel with Israeli elements of tech transfers in every university. Slowly, Australia is adapting it, and they try also to take example from what Israel has done. From Canada is doing it as well, is to take achievements in academia into commercial and business.
Yeah, thanks, Tan. Thanks, Hadar. Wonderful. Thank you for being on board this afternoon.
Thank you very much for listening to me and doing some great things for Israel. So thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. And I see, just as you can leave if you need to, but we are extending the meeting an extra 15 minutes tonight because I got the message just recently that our good friend Major Daniel G'Jaikob, I don't know if you know Daniel G'Jaikob, but Daniel has joined us. He has a troop of about 500 reservists, I think, and he's going to tell us a bit of the update of what's been happening for him and his troop as he's moved over the last couple of months. We had him on in December, and then we've been on holiday, I suppose, for late December and January. So it's wonderful to have you back, Daniel. Daniel was, inverted commas, part of our tour guide leadership group when we took groups to Israel with Eitan, and took us to all sorts of different places. And we love him and his family and his children. And he's now back in the reserves, and even has his oldest son in the army as well. So welcome back, Daniel. Please give us an update. Everybody's been asking about you and the family and what's happening for you and your role in at the moment in the army. So over to you.
I just wanted to say hi to Daniel. I had to apologize.
שלום איתן, מה שלומך?
תודה רבה, מה שלומך? Thank you for joining, and you have another hero of the state of Israel here on screen. It's like to be with you in your living room, and we know exactly your dedication to the state, and you, I'm sure, will be the representative of "we will prevail," as we say. So all the very best to you, my dear friend, and we'll see you soon, and we'll speak soon. And good luck, and I will see the recording later. I'm sure it will be very, very moving. Thank you so much.
Over to you, Daniel.
Thank you all.
See you, Eitan.
Okay, in Israel, good morning. John said I have 550, even 600 soldiers. When I say 500, 600, because we were much more motivated to come to reserve, so a lot more came that were supposed to come. So I'm a father for 4 kids. My youngest is 8. My oldest is 20 almost. He's in the army. And I was called up on the 7th of October in a telephone that I got to come to my army unit, combat unit. I have a lot of responsibility with soldiers, combat soldiers. We're doing work mostly in Judea and Samaria or West Bank, the area of Jenin. I'm sure you heard about Jenin and Shechem. It's very busy. My soldiers left everything they have, which means their families, their work, and a lot of motivation came to serve whatever we have to do. We're doing a lot of work in our base. We have missions every night. We're going into missions to air villages, to making sure that the center of Israel, Tel Aviv and Kfar Saba and Petah Tikva, cities around Judea and Samaria, of course also Jerusalem, is more safe than it could be in this crazy war. There's a lot of motivation of the Hamas inside the West Bank to do what they did in Gaza, also nearby these areas over here. We're making sure it's not going to happen. As you can see, I'm not in the base now. I'm on a vacation. I took a week on the off in my home. I'm going to go now in a few minutes, change my costume and go back to be a soldier, an officer. Sometimes it's not easy because my wife's family is actually also evacuated from their homes. And actually, my wife is the real hero, actually. I'll tell you that. Because really, her parents and her 2 sisters are evacuated, like in hotels and all kind of apartments they're renting from here to go. They have young kids. Her son, her husband are in the army, and my wife is in charge of all the women of the reservists of our community. And also, it's interesting to go back and forth sometimes because when you do missions and you arrest bad guys and you see things and do things, then you go back home to your kids and tell a bedtime story or play a game or whatever, try to go back to normal. It's not easy, but it's part of life and it's part of this war, and that's what we're doing.
So what's happening now? You were extended into March. So I think, Daniel, that you and your brigade or your troop are still active in sometime into March. Have you had any further instructions as to what's going to happen after that, or can you give us an update of how you see things in the north as well as what's happening in the Strip?
In Gaza. Okay, so I was in Gaza for 2 weeks because we replaced the guys to take showers and to relax into their other missions. We came back and it was, of course, very interesting different kind of work over there that we do in Judea and Samaria. So in a few more months, depends on when we're going to start to attack Rafiah, which is south in Gaza. We're going to finish up Gaza. When I say finish up Gaza, it means we're going to hopefully get back the captured innocent people. Hopefully they're healthy and well, and we're going to attack the last big city, which we have lots of Hamas and underground tunnels working to do over there. We have to do that because without that, it's like leaving a big nest of terrorists to continue doing what they're doing, and the southern communities around Gaza, like the southern areas like Shlomit and all kind of communities like that, are also threatened by that city, and we know what they could do. And also very, very important to have a border with Egypt that we are going to control, not the Egyptians. That's a very, very important part because we know the Egyptians are saying in Hebrew and English that they're for peace and for helping the West, but in Arabic they're saying actually the opposite, and they're saying a lot of things that have to do with helping the Hamas. And the underground tunnels they have into Gaza are actually bringing a lot of ammunition, a lot of guns of concrete for tunnels. So we have to make sure this border with southern Gaza is blocked by Israel. That's a very, very, very important message and a target of ours before we continue up to the north, which means we start to come with tractors and start doing underground tunnels and underground blocks. That's what we do. We did all around the Gaza Strip. So we have to finish up that, and hopefully the soldiers and friends and family we know are not going to be injured and killed in a very low place. Hope it'll happen in a low price. So of course, after we finish Gaza, we're gonna hopefully, and this is these things I can't say, but hopefully we're gonna start the war against the Hezbollah and not them starting a war against us, which means the element of surprise has to be on our side and not their side. We have to do it. We have to go up to the north and not do a United Nations agreement. That's my opinion, of course, because for them the agreements don't mean anything, which means we actually have an agreement from 2006. They're not to come close to the border with Lebanon and Israel, 30, 40 kilometers, and of course they're doing it. They're building lots of tunnels. They have built a lot of tunnels. Every other house in the southern areas of Lebanon, which is 2, 3, 5, 10 kilometers from the border with Israel, have lots of missiles in boxes ready to be launched. Every other house, you hear what I'm saying? Like every other house in the innocent villages, the Hamas took control of homes, of rooms, and they put lots of ammunition and missiles to launch into Israel. A lot of them. We know some of where they are. We know where they are. It'll be a different war because hopefully we're not going to have any hostages over there. So it's easier for us to attack and to do a job that we're supposed to do over there. Because people are not going to go back. My parents, my mother-in-law and father-in-law are not going to go back to Kiryat Shmona, which is in the north of the city in the north, until this will happen. And everyone's saying that to the government. All the communities, all the people, all the residents are saying, we're not going to come back to our homes. If what happened in Gaza can happen to us. And it can happen. If the Hamas is on the borders and on the fences, it could happen. We see what happens. Now, I'll tell you this. I don't know if it already ran out to the news, so I can tell you this, but the first 2 weeks where we did not attack Hamas from 7th October until about 20th of October, we did not launch an attack because we had to make sure the North would not attack us also. And also, the Hamas intelligence units, they went into the commander of Gaza's office when they attacked the base. Hopefully, thank God he wasn't there. He was on a run, and he was doing his work he was supposed to do, was actually defending his soldiers. They went into the safe, and they broke into the safe. They shot an RPG on the safe. And they stole the plans of how to conquer Gaza in the future, of the commander of all the Gazan borders. So which means that's why we had a delay of attack, and also getting organized, of course. But that was the main reason. We have to change all the plans. Now we have different plans to attack the north. Hopefully we're going to surprise them. And another interesting fact is that, as you know, that the people who were soldiers who were killed, and some of them are my friends, most of them are commanders and officers in Israel. If you go to Mount Herzl, it's an amazing place to visit, amazing stories of heroes around Jerusalem. There's tons of stories of lots of commanders and officers that took the soldiers into battle, not send their soldiers into battle, and they died, because Israel is the only country in the world with the army when the soldiers and officers go into battle, taking their soldiers into battle. Acharai, like I say, after me. I'm a soldier. I'm an officer. I have 550 soldiers, almost 600. In every mission, we take our soldiers into battle, and of course, make sure things happen as supposed to happen. That's why 50% of the people who were killed, including the guy who was killed 2 days ago, a major, are officers and commanders. And that's a very important message, of personal example of how we care and love our soldiers, because we're making sure everything we could do so that nothing would happen to them. And that's a very important fact. We learn that from the Bible, by the way. We learn from Book of Judges, Book of Samuel, King David, Judges of Gideon the Judge. These people told us how to fight and tactics. It's an amazing thing to understand this.
That's incredible, isn't it? And I know, you know, I've heard you say before that, you know, often you're quoting scripture and things to the soldiers before you go into battle or take them into battle, etc., which is wonderful. And we're just, a lot of us here on this call have met with you, have been into your house, have been with your family. So our prayers are with you on a constant basis. I think we've got time for one or two questions if somebody would like to ask a question of Daniel. But your wife...
Wait, I see Dave. Dave and Kathy? Yeah, I know Dave.
Yeah, he's got a question. Unmute, Dave.
You're on mute.
I remember well visiting with you guys in your beautiful home, and thank you so much for what you're doing. We pray for you all the time. I'm just interested in a little bit, if you can give us a bit more background on the tunnels, mate. That seems to be a major aspect of this battle and sounds to be very dicey and difficult for the boys. And yeah, anything you can share about how you're doing it or what you've achieved or yet to be done or whatever. And the relocated people. We get a lot of flack out here saying Israel's being mean, relocating everybody. So if those two issues, I'd be interested in a little background. Thank you.
Okay, so the tunnels, by the way, my son just joined the army unit of the guys who go into tunnels and clean them up. Tunnels is, do you have a subway in Australia somewhere?
Yeah, we do in Sydney.
Sydney. So imagine the amount of tunnels times 10 of all the subways in Manhattan and Sydney. They have about 50 kilometers, almost every city we found. 50 kilometers of tunnels. Now, at least, okay? In Khan Yunis, they found 200 kilometers of tunnels. Of course, tunnels are under hospitals, under mosques. They know our soft spot. We don't attack innocent people. Don't listen to the news, of course. That's a fact. We don't attack people who we know they're innocent people. Just a few weeks ago, a friend of mine who's a pilot, F-16 pilot, saw, listen, Daniel, I had a target that was like, I saw the launchers shooting into Israel. I couldn't attack them because there was a boy with a bicycle nearby. We could not attack him. So tunnels, they put billions of dollars into these tunnels. All the money they got for health, for education, for making something out of Gaza. The Hamas took everything and made the headquarters and tunnels into, now it's very hard to attack these tunnels. I think Gaza is the most complicated attack, like area of a battle in the whole world. Because when you go into attack a city in Gaza, you have also the buildings where they can shoot you from top, also the front, and also the bottom, under the ground. They pop up from all kind of like they have like automatic sheds, like metal hiding under this metal plateau. It opens up automatically, or they have to pull it open, and they shoot and they close it and they go back down. It's amazingly very, very difficult for finding these tunnels. After we do find them and we know where they are, there are only two kind of army units who could go inside these tunnels and clean them up. They have special tactics and special ways to do it. It's very complicated because they have booby tracks all around. They know we're going to go inside, so they try to booby track, and we stop that, of course. Of course, we had also accidents. Some soldiers were killed cleaning up these tunnels, unfortunately. But it's very, very complicated. By the way, the Hezbollah in the north, they're also digging up tunnels. Of course, not as much as Hamas, because it's not the same kind of land. This is sandstone, and this is limestone, which is much harder to dig down tunnels over there. But they're doing it for the past couple of years, and they're also ready for us to come. A lot less than the Hamas. The Hezbollah didn't have to have a lot of tunnels, but they also have a lot of tunnels for this issue. That's about the tunnels. It's it's so, and by the way, we just found a highway tunnel. We call it a highway tunnel going from Rafiah to Khan Yunis, which the hostages were there. In so many places, of course, second the hostages were taken to Israel, from Israel to Gaza. They were taken into the tunnels, and from there they're going always down, retreating down south. Now the people who are refugees, we call them. Now the Hamas or the Palestinians are the only people in the world where they actually enjoy being refugees, because it's a good business. They get a lot of money from the world, so they like being refugees. Also now, but this is different. This is a different kind of refugee, because also you have 1948. You had 800,000 Jews, and even more refugees that came from the Holocaust and come from all around South African countries, not South America, South Africa. Yeah, like all Northern Africa. Sorry, Morocco, Tunisia, Yemen. They came into Israel, building a new land. After one generation, that's it. We made from refugees, we became one of the most startup nations in the world. That's what we did. But the Palestinians continue being refugees and being these people because they get so much money from the world. They're enjoying it. It's the biggest charity organization in the world, the Palestinians. Look in London, look in Paris. It's going on also, I'm sure, also in Australia, and of course also in Manhattan. They get lots of budget, and it's a big business. It's a good business for them. Look in social media, what's going on, how much money they're getting from donations of just being a refugee. So what's going on now, they're leaving. We conquered the Gaza Strip from the north to the south. They're retreating down south, and they're actually building now with the United Nations and all kind of other foreign aid help, especially from America, a big, enormous refugee camp. They're thinking of half Sinai, half Israel, and then they clean up the refugees to there, and then we can finally attack the city of Rafiah. We have to clean it up from the Hamas terrorists and the tunnels. And that's a very important stage, one of the last stages we're going to have with Gaza, to take down 4 big battalions of the last Hamas in Rafiah. It's very important for the message that we have to finish up this terrorist organization. Of course, we're not going to finish it up totally, because it's an idea, like they say, and all going to like things like that. But it's still, we're going to finish up the army ways of them attacking Israel, which is very important.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny. Well done, mate.
Thanks, mate. Yes, and interesting. On final sort of question, because we've gone really over time again tonight, but that's fascinating just to have you with us and for everybody to listen into the real, day-to-day issues that you face. One of the things that we see in the Western media also at the moment is the role that the USA plays. And from my perspective, they speak out of both sides of their mouth. On one aspect, they're supportive. On the other aspect, they're trying to stop everything. What's your perspective of that?
So, of course, we know for sure that if a different president would be there, either Trump or Nikki Haley or other people, it will be different to Israel. Biden is a good friend of Israel for a lot of years, but the people with him, his advisors, the ambassador in Israel and all kind of other people are not exactly, we call it pro-Israel. And that's very important to understand. He has a lot of pressure from all kind of organizations in America. They're not for Israel, they're for the Palestinians. Again, he's a friend, but still, his people say because of his age and all kind of other, he's not like an Obama also is pressuring him. They're giving us a lot of ammunition. They gave us a lot of help in the beginning, Iron Dome and everything. But we have to tell him, and we have to tell the Americans, thank you for being our friend, but we have a disagreement about things. Thank you so much. But we could also think differently. And that's what we don't do, unfortunately. We could have bring back my opinion, again, we could have bring back the hostages if we would be much, much more stronger in the beginning. If we would not put in one liter of oil or gas into Hamas, into Gaza, or one truck into Gaza that could be helpful for also society and also for the Hamas, especially with the Hamas. Who in the world is giving helping your enemy that just raped you and killed you and
Johnson's on.
the crazy time that we're the only people in the world who are actually helping the organization that just attacked us a few months ago. It's crazy. We're giving them every day into Gaza, going to 200 trucks that our supplies and also aid from the world, but still we're organizing this to help our enemy. If we would, and that's pressure from America. That's the only reason we're doing it, because of pressure. That Biden is saying, listen, we gotta help the people. But I would have said that if 2 or 3 months ago, we not giving in to anything, that's a pressure it could give to bring back the hostages. You want a truck. Okay, every truck could get in. I want one hostage back. Start negotiating.
Yeah.
Or 1 ton of gas. Give me your hostage.
Yeah.
We're giving them so much. They're not giving us anything. So why should they give back our hostages? Because they're just enjoying it. Us being the suckers, like they say. I'm trying to the world, but that's what's happening. So a lot of people are frustrated in Israel that we're listening to the Americans and not caring for ourselves. That's a big frustration in Israel.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I would be frustrated as well. My wife Ingrid tells me I get too frustrated with what's going on in the world. So get back on my knees and keep praying. So that's the only thing I can do.
So last thing about this frustration, everything in Israel, everyone is in a war. And when you're in a war, you're also in a war mind. Like the mind storm of a war. Everyone's part of it. Everyone's like, when you go back to the house, I have to be more gentle with my kids and more easier with this. It's everything. It's the hostages. It's the pressure. It's the war. It's the anti-Semitism. It's so many things around us is like pressuring us. We have to continue breathing and believing that we're going to win the war, and we're going to have to, and we have done crazy stuff during the history of Israel. We're going to also be good after this. And what happened to us before this war, with all the hatred and all those kind of things, it's hopefully this will be a good ending to that.
Yeah.
Of like being together.
Amen. Final question to Michael. If you'd unmute, Michael.
I'm muted. Thanks, John. I'll be very quick. Today I learned that, we're a small country. We pay our taxes. So like $24 million has gone to Gaza, to these so-called refugees. Why would we not provide this recording to our own federal government and our minister, appropriate minister, of what our friend is providing facts here?
So all the aid goes towards Hamas, and the Hamas gives it out to the people. But first, it does takes care of themselves, the Hamas. This gas, and they're filling up all their extra generators, and they're making sure that if there'll be an attack on from Israel, they're going to be ready to go and ready to defend. This is very, very annoying. I agree that, listen, it's so easy. When the Jews were attacked on 7th of October, oh, poor the Jews. But when we defend ourselves, they're attacking us. We're called the IDF. I'm in the army almost 5 months. I'm going to finish another month, God willing, go back to normal life. And they told me already that I have to be called up again in September for the North or whatever. But I'm just saying that this is a crazy time. And this is so important now for me to understand that we have no other option. We have to be strong. We have to be tough. And if not this, we're not going to be here because we are surrounded with enemies. We're not like Australia. You have oceans around you guys. We got Arabs that don't want us over here. The worst neighbors we could imagine that really don't want us over here. So we have to be strong and we have to be united. If not that, we're not going to survive this situation. And if you see in the world, all the Jews are the big bad wolf, look at the map. Look at the map when they say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free or whatever. They have no idea what river. They have no idea what's going on over here. Look around. We have a tiny country, and 22 Muslim countries around us.
So my question, my question was to the people here who are Australians who are paying their taxes to go to Gaza, to these things. My question is to us, we Australians, why would we not provide this recording to our government here in Australia?
Yeah, you got it, Michael. So let me.
They wouldn't listen.
Well, just hold on, Joyful. This recording, Daniel, just to let you know, after this, many people get to see the replay. So we put it up on Vimeo and I'll send you the link. But I will be sending this to we have now formed in Australia in the Parliament, a Friends of Israel caucus, which is led by a parliamentarian named Andrew Wallace, who has become a friend of ours. There are 16 to 18 members of that caucus from both left and right, so they will be getting a copy of this information, and I will also be sending it to my local members in the Tasmanian government so that they are aware of what is going on, because we need to educate our parliamentarians. They really are, I won't say dumb, that's not the right word, but they're not well informed as to the truth.
They're taking the lie and making the lie the truth.
Yes.
You should send this opposite. Tell the truth, not the lies.
Correct. Absolutely.
Just like that happened in the 1930s in the Nazi propaganda against Jews. Yep. Same exact thing.
Absolutely. Well, on that note,
guys, have a good week.
Yep. I want to thank you. Send our love to your wife, and we are consistently praying for you. And we just want to thank you, mate. You're just such a wonderful first responder and a good friend. So we just want to thank you for being with us tonight. And we'll end the recording on that note. And bless everybody here. Guys. We won't go on for prayer tonight. Next Sunday we'll be having prayer together. If you'd like to join us next Sunday afternoon. But on tonight's thing, we just want to thank Daniel, Hadar, and everybody who's been here, and wish you a wonderful week. Good night.